Kara, first of all, talk about how you became connected with this project.
Sure. Actually, I actually auditioned for the movie, I think on the very last day of callbacks. So I slid in like at the very last minute. But I read the script and I loved it. It was such a page turner, which is so rare. And I really loved Pirates of the Caribbean whenever that came out. And so Elizabeth Swann was always like, oh man, I hope I get a role like that someday. And so I was very fortunate to be able to land the role of Charlotte Holloway, because it's just got the whole package of, you have this love interest, this romance, but then action adventure, and it's set in such a fun time in American history. And so it was so much fun. I was so glad that I got the role.
All right, you mentioned Elizabeth Swann. That's very interesting because there were some thoughts going through my mind as I saw the movie. There's a Pirates of the Caribbean flavor here, kind of that vibe. Now, Elizabeth Swann versus Charlotte Holloway, taste in men.
Taste in men. I mean, both of them fall for kind of a pirate, swashbuckler, criminal. I mean, what can I say? It's powerful. You can't resist it. Both of them equal taste in men.
Well, yeah, let's talk about this pirate, swashbuckler, vicar, masked man, the Dread Pirate Roberts. Yeah, I mean, there's kind of like a little Wesley thing, even a little Daredevil look. If people are familiar with the new Marvel, I mean, you kind, yeah. Did you? That was not out when you did the film, but there's this thing. I mean, you got Daredevil, you've got Arrow, you got these guys that are wanting to do good things, kind of in the shadows. And during a phase of Will Reynolds' life, that's what you were trying to do. Talk about the phases of Will. Because Will Reynolds, a.k.a. the vicar, a.k.a. the highwayman. I mean, yeah, you're just kind of all over the place.
He is, and that's the fun of the journey. He really goes from William Reynolds, the assassin, to Stephen Walters, the vicar, to Jeremiah Flack, the disguised kind of apprentice, and to the highwayman. And all along the way, he's just hiding behind the identities, and of course he's on the run for his life, so that's a pretty exciting thing to watch unfold on screen, and obviously very fun to play. But I think what's cool is there's that nuanced kind of underlying battle that I imagine all those heroes, I'm a fan of all those, and you see them all kind of deal with deeper questions in life. And I think what Will is just wrestling through the whole time is, why isn't this giving me the significance I hoped it would? Mm-hmm. I'm doing all the right things. I'm trying to do something very just. I'm trying to redeem my name and make up for, my past sins, things I'm ashamed of, but it doesn't seem to be doing it. It doesn't seem to be, redeeming me in the way I thought it would. Why not? And who am I really in all this? Why am I doing what I'm doing? Am I doing it for me, for them, for some higher purpose? And so it was really cool to kind of not just live out this arc of playing all these different identities and kind of hiding from who you are, but playing the more nuanced, underlining, deeper meaning, and being faced with that question, who am I?
Let me rewind just a bit. The OCD in me saying that I really need to go back and ask you how you became involved with the film. Then we'll talk more about some of these redemptive elements in it.
Sounds great, yeah. I also came in very late in the casting process. I understand they'd been through a number of kind of auditions and callbacks and just kind of weren't finding exactly the right fit. And I think Kara had even done some chemistry reads with some folks. But I think in the final hours, I think it might have been even Stephen Kendrick, but somebody had passed along my name after seeing Seasons of Grey to Chad. And so Chad called me up directly, asked me to come in and read for the role. And I got a chance to read with the casting director and Chad in the room kind of on that first read. And not only did I enjoy reading the script and have a good time with the audition, but connected with Chad there in the room, and it felt like it just got us off on the right foot. And wasn't long after we were in rehearsals.
Mm-hmm.
Seasons of Grey, by the way, is a film that you were in, and you basically played, as I understand it, a modern-day character based on the life of the biblical character Joseph. Is that a good appraisal there?
No, very accurate appraisal. Yeah, it's a modern day retelling of the story of Joseph. Betrayed.
You said it much better.
Oh, no, hey.
It's a tagline on the cover.
It's a tagline. Marketing people wrote that for me. I just say it. No, it really was, and I thought that it did a really good job of just contemporizing, making relevant the story of Joseph. Similar to Beyond the Mask, you have a timeless question being asked through the lens of history, but being made very relevant to today. Even though you're still set in revolutionary time period.
Well, I want to talk about these redemptive elements, and when you look at a story of a film, films will entertain you. They will also strike you in different ways. This is obviously a film, in fact, I was saying to John Rhys Davis, this is a film that really makes you think. And what's notable, Kara, about your character, Charlotte, is that you are someone that came into Will's life, and you brought really there was a sense of redemption. There was a sense of a higher purpose. You really were one of those, as you might say, one of the moral compasses in the film. Talk about that.
Well, I think what's interesting about Charlotte is that first of all, she doesn't really have a man in her life. Her father's passed away, and her uncle Charles Kemp is few and far between with visits. So it's really, she's very grounded in her faith. She really clings to the Lord as her father, and so she holds on to that throughout the film. She's very consistent in that. But the arc for her in the story is that she starts out very small town, growing up in Aylesbury, very much a homebody, and then through the series of events that happen with falling in love with Stephen Walters and then finding out who he is, and instead of balking at it and trying to turn away from it, she really grieves for him, and she really feels for them and has compassion for him. And so as the story unfolds for her, she gets taken on this journey, to another country and trying to start over, and then gets caught up in everything that's happening, and, busts him from a prison ship, charters a smuggler's carriage. She kind of gets her hands dirty there by the end, but still holding on to those core beliefs.
Well, let's talk about, you mentioned a name that you assumed in the process, your character, that is Jeremiah Flack. And I think that there's a scene that really is a pivotal moment in the film involving this guy, Jeremiah Flack, a real character in the film. Talk about his impact in the overall story of this film.
Absolutely. I think, and spoiler alert for about what I'm about to say, but I think Jeremiah Flack's sacrifice in the film really brings to life for Will the things he's been reading about Christ, about the gospel. As the vicar, he's obviously having to, immerse himself into this world of Scripture and of religion and the gospel. And I think up until that point, there hadn't been quite the visceral taste of what heroic sacrifice really looks like. And I think that's exactly what Christ has done for us. It is a heroic sacrifice, and it's something that we long to see in story because we long for it to be true in life, and I think the same is true for Will. He experiences it in that moment.